total body oriented movement. It's obviously an Olympic movement, so if you go look up the Snatch online, you're going to see these, all sorts of big, strong Olympic weightlifters doing this complex movement. It's a total body movement, mainly designed for Olympic weightlifters, but in all honesty, we can adapt this and we can teach people this to develop amazing core strength. This is an overhead type of movement, so anytime you put weight overhead, you're obviously going to need a really strong core to maintain that, right? And so that's the reason that I like to at least teach variations of this to clients, because it's a little scary at times. That usually means that it demands a lot of proprioception, core stability, a lot of strength too. So if we can get that working together with a client, they're going to be in really good shape. This thing right here is going to demonstrate a squat for me. So go ahead and show us a good squat this side. Good, that's perfect. I want you to go down and hold at the bottom. So notice we've got really good torso posture here. I could have him rotate it back a little bit and keep that chest up a little higher. That's all right. He's got, we can work on some flexibility here. Nice, good parallel thighs. I'm going to stand up. You notice that his knees aren't caving in, they're tracking out, right? We do it again, go ahead up. You're just going to get those shoulders back activated, really stick that head through right there. So if we can get this good position, notice here though, very good core alignment. He's not what I call flaring his ribs up. I'll tell him, hey Josiah, keep your ribs pulled down for me. And that's what he's doing right now. He'll take those ribs from going here and going here. That keeps us out in this good spinal alignment in that low back. Good, bring it right down. Good, stand back up. So if they can do this with decent proficiency, it's a tough movement, so I'm not expecting people to be perfect on it, but this is definitely something that we want to master before we start teaching a full snatch, because right here is our finished position. So if we can't get there, why are we going to bother, right? But Josiah's got some good movement already. He's ready to start working on some things to get us our snatch. Go ahead and do some pass-throughs for me first. So he's going to get in a nice wide grip on this PVC pipe. He's going to go and rotate his shoulders over and back. Never losing contact with this bar though. Go ahead and relax there. So what we're doing here is really opening up that shoulder, right? Because in an overhead squat, when we're in this position, we need to have a nice mobile anterior shoulder. And so that's what we're working on really here. We're getting those pecs, all that other anterior musculature stretched out as we go back and really let that bar come through, all right? So that's our first one. That's a good one to do for maybe 5-10 reps. Even do a couple sets of that just to get if you're feeling particularly tight on a certain day. We're gonna do what I call snow angels. Basically just another shoulder mobility drill. And we're gonna get that posterior shoulder really working. So what he's gonna do is keep his shoulders pinned down to the ground, elbows on the floor. He can pull his knees up. Try to keep that pelvis to push to the ground, wrists on the ground. And what I want him to do is just push his arms straight overhead, just like that. Good, trying to maintain contact with the elbow, shoulder, and wrist with the ground at all times. Come back down, and push it straight overhead. Good, we're gonna do some IYTs. Javas is gonna get in a good squat position right here. He's gonna have a little hip hinge and a little knee bend right there. Good, you're gonna let that chest kind of come over to the floor and start with those weights right out in front of him like this. You're gonna do his eye, bring those arms straight up to his head. Good, looking for those arms to get right in line with that ear. Bring it back down. He's gonna do his Y, keeping his thumbs towards the ceiling. Good, kind of in this Y position right here. Come back down and do your T. Straight out to the sides, good. Really, really activating these rhomboids, all these scapular retractors, and the posterior shoulder. This is really, again, same concept as the snow angel. Really gonna get those posterior shoulders warmed up. And in all honesty, you don't have to do this just for the snatch. This is a great exercise to use almost any time you're warming somebody's shoulders up. The next movement I wanna do is the SOTS press. Now, I'll call this first movement the high SOTS press because the SOTS press is technically the second part of the movement that we'll do. But this first one, Javad's going to take this bar and sit it on his back like he's going to do a back squat. Good. Come on, step over here a little bit. There you go. And he's going to get his hands wide outside this knurling right here, just so basically like he would be in an overhead position. And we'll talk about hand position when we get to actually setting up for our snatch. But he's going to basically just do a shoulder press from right here. So go ahead and just push that bar straight up overhead. Good. And back down. And back up. Good. Back down. Then he's going to go into his full squat position. Good. And he's going to go ahead and try to press from here. Good. He's got a really good press out of his bottom. Go ahead and do it again. Let's watch it one more time. Good. He's keeping his core nice and tight. Set it back down and do 3 more reps. He's keeping his core nice and tight. Good back posture right through here in the lumbar spine. And he's really trying to keep his head up. A lot of people will try to duck their heads so they don't hit the back of their head. But he's keeping this good position right there. Nice. This is basically a warm-up complex. So Javas is going to do 5 reps at each position. He's going to first start with this basically just hip thrust, right? He's going to start with the bar in the hang position right here. Bring it up and hips through and shrugs. Good. Keeping a good back alignment right here. Nice. Getting a nice little shrug in there. Come up on his toes a little bit. Nice triple extension. That's what we're looking for. When we say triple extension, look at those ankles, knees, and hips. Coming from flexed all the way to extend. So now the next thing we're going to do is our high pull. Everybody remember this one? Getting our elbows nice and high. I usually tell people, try to picture like you're elbowing somebody in the face behind you, right? Just try to get that elbow nice and high in the back. So go ahead and demonstrate that for us, boss. Good. Keeping that bar nice and close to his body. Good. So basically what this is another cue I'll do. If they like to bring that bar out of the way, I'll say, all right, man, don't hit my hand when you bring that bar up. Good. See, he's still pulling back nice and back, all right? Go ahead and do it 2 more times. Good. And 1 more time. Good. And now we're actually going to do this last movement of this triplet is actually going to be our initial movement. It's called the muscle snatch, and we're basically going to pattern all of these movements together. So now really he's got his pull, he's got his hips working through, his shoulders are warmed up. Now all we need to do is finish with that bar overhead, just like this, okay? So he's going to do 5 muscle snatches for me, taking it from the hang position, and just finishing straight up overhead. Go ahead and do that. Nice, good. That bar nice and close, pulling up high, good. So that's our warm-up complex. It's a set of 3 movements. You've got your shrug, your high pull, and your full muscle snatch. All right. All right, so we're going to talk about setup. Somebody give me something dealing from here to here that I would want him to do with his body. Keep your core tight, right? You need to keep that core nice and tight. So I'm going to tell him, hey, pull your belly button into your spine. From here, what we're going to want to do is to get our good hand placement, we're going to keep this ball right on our hips and just bend over. Good. And now I want you to slide your elbows out there all the way straight. Good, just like that, and stand back up. So now our hands are good. We're going to talk about creating a stable shoulder next, all right? And this is basically the last part before we go to snatch. I'm going to tell him, hey, try to bend that bar in half. Good. He's taking his wrist and basically locking his elbows out and pushing that bar down. So it's almost going to try to make this U shape instead of a straight line. Does that make sense? Well, what we're doing here is actually locking down this shoulder. It's basically taking and externally rotating his shoulder so that all of a sudden he's not in this loose kind of external rotated position, but he's here and it's not going to move as much when he goes overhead. We're going to go now and practice our hang muscle snatch just like we were doing in our warm-up, okay? So we're going to go right from here, push those hips back, let that bar ride down those thighs, and then explode up. Good, there you go. Now, when he's coming up, to make sure we're getting that stable shoulder the whole way through in the movement, what I'm going to tell him to do is, hey, punch the ceiling, all right? Hold it at the bottom this time. Good. Next time, hold it at the bottom this time. Good. Good. See there? Bar's dipping forward, his chest is bending over, good, stand back up. That's not going to end well for us anytime. Right? And that's usually because they're not even balanced, they're not landing in their heels, or they're just not stabilized in their core. And again, it also has to do with shoulder mobility. So you'd have to look and kind of figure out, okay, what is happening here that's making him forward dip like that. Here we go. Go up, whoop, and the heels are coming up. And again, that almost pushes him into a forward chest position again, right? And also, like we talked about, how Javaz likes to keep this bar really far back off the frontal plane. And that's something we want to try to avoid too. So what can we do to work on a snatch? So basically build the skills up for a snatch, or kind of change this for someone who may be not quite ready for a snatch. So Javaz is going to do for me just a couple reps of a snatch grip deadlift. This is a standard deadlift. All we're doing is just widening our hands out like we would in the snatch, right? So go ahead and just sit up and show us a few good reps of that deadlift. Good, that's all it is. Perfect, right? The next one, we already kind of talked about, and I'll just mention real quick, is that SOTS press, where we're kind of in that squat position, right? We're pushing up above the head. Yep, right there. Good. And so this, Javaz is doing a good job because we've got the bumpers there. Go ahead and stand back up. But this is going to really identify if somebody likes to dip that bar back, or we can flip them around and go on the other side and see if they like to dip the bar forward. So just do regular overhead squats with some sort of guide right here to let them know where they're at in space is really good to use too. So all this snatch balances is going to help us develop that overhead stability, okay? So all we're going to do is take this bar and set it on our back to start. I'm gonna set up in a good position, I'm locked down, and all I'm gonna do is basically just drop under this bar, is all I'm gonna do while pushing the bar up away from my head. So I'm gonna create some separation between my shoulders and the bar. So I'm gonna go right from here and down. Stand back up. So we'll take a dumbbell, right, and kind of straddle it just like this. We're just going one-handed, obviously. Take one hand, bend down in this good power position, take it right from here, and straight up overhead, just like that. Still using that same technique, pulling our hips through, really punching the ceiling, not getting too much overextension in our back, but really just using it.